This is a training session regarding entering and changing employee information. Employees are stored in the Payroll module, and therefore we go to the Payroll menu and select Employees. Here we have a list of all our employees. We can sort this list by clicking on the header of any column. Let's select one of our employees and click on the Change button. Here we see all of the information that can be stored for an employee. The first tab includes general information about the employee, which is basically their name, address, phone numbers, and email address. The second tab is the employee's personal information.
This includes the employee's activity status, marital status, ethnicity, gender, social security number, driver's license number, and classification.
Here we can indicate whether this person is an executive employee. For more information about executive employees, refer to the training session on Setting up User Information. This box indicates whether this employee should be included in our mailing list.
Enter the employee's birth date here. The last date worked is updated by the system every time a timesheet is posted for this employee. Here you can enter one or more hire and termination dates. Click the Add button and indicate when the employee was hired. If they were subsequently terminated, enter the termination date and the reason. You can add multiple hire and termination dates if necessary. The Health Coverage button allows you to provide health insurance coverage information for the employee. This information will be used in printing Forms 1094 and 1095 for the Affordable Care Act.
We can save information about the employee's emergency contact name and phone number. If the person is a job manager, we can indicate whether the employee is a project manager and/or a superintendent here. These checkboxes will be important if this person is to be granted access to job information
using the Job Costing Overview.
If this person is going to be given access to view job information, it is a good idea to give them a password that grants them access to their jobs
in the Job Costing Overview.
On the right-hand side, we can add a photograph of the employee. Any bitmap image can be added to this field. The next tab is the Rates tab.
This button lets you enter federal tax withholding information provided by the employee using the federal form W-4. At the top of the window, indicate whether the W-4 you have on file for the employee was dated 2019 or older, or 2020 or newer. With the older W-4, you need only enter the number of withholding allowances the employee has claimed. With the newer W-4, enter the information the employee provided on the form worksheet into the fields provided. Here you can specify which tax withholding table to use. Here you can enter an amount or percent of gross for additional withholding. That is, in addition to the amount of tax that will be calculated by the timesheet posting program using the selected withholding table. These two checkboxes should not be changed. Leave the first box checked and the second box unchecked. Here you can specify the number of pay periods per year. This is important since it will dictate which withholding table the system will use during timesheet posting. Weekly payroll is 52 pay periods per year.
Next is the withholding state. This is the state of residence, or the state whose tax table will be used to calculate withholding. The next is the workers' comp state. This state's workers' comp rates will be used for workers' comp calculations. General liability and unemployment work the same. Next, we can specify up to 2 localities. We enter these as default localities, so this person can have local taxes withheld from their pay as well. The next checkbox is rarely used. When entering timesheets, the default location can, on occasion, be overridden by the locality stored in the job setup information. If we check this box, then this person's locality can never be overridden by something set up as a default locality in the job. Next, we see a button labeled Direct Deposit Information. When this button is pressed, a new screen comes into view. Here you can indicate whether you will have all or part of the employee's net pay electronically deposited into his bank account. Insert the information about each employee bank account here.
When we click the Add button,
we can enter a description of the bank account, the ABA routing number, and the account number. We must also indicate whether this is a checking or savings account. Once the account is set up, we specify whether the entire amount of the check will be directly deposited. If it will be, we must select which account will be used for the transfer. If the deposit is to go to multiple accounts, go ahead and check the box to direct deposit the full amount of the check. Later, we will set up deductions for the additional accounts where amounts are to be deposited. Using this button, you can set up a method for accruing vacation, sick, and pension hours. Click the button, and you will see a list box with each accrual type represented. We'll edit the vacation accrual type. Here we can indicate whether we will be accruing vacation hours or vacation dollars. Hours is the standard setting. Now we can specify how vacation hours will be accrued. One method is to accrue a certain number of vacation days each year on the employee's employment anniversary date. We'll accrue 2 weeks or 80 hours of vacation. To do this, we specify 80 hours every 1 year. We set the accrual date to be the employee's next anniversary date, and we enter the number of vacation hours the employee still has remaining in the current year here. If at the end of the year we will carry over unused vacation hours, uncheck this box. If the box is checked, the available vacation hours will be reset to 80 on the anniversary date. Another method is to accrue a certain number of hours for each hour the employee works. Let's say we accrue 0.0385 hours of vacation for every hour worked. This would work out to be about 80 hours of vacation per year. To do this, we enter 0.0385 hours every 1 hour worked. We could also enter 1.5385 hours per pay period. If the pay period is weekly, this would also come up to about 80 hours of vacation time per year. The fields at the bottom will keep track of how much vacation the employee has taken this week, month, and year. Sick pay and pension pay are set up in the same manner. In the next box, we have the defaults for timesheet entry. Whenever we enter a time card for this person, the workers' comp code, general liability code, certified craft code, and union fringe benefit table will default to the values entered in these fields. If this person is an office worker, you can enter the GL account to which their time is normally charged here. If the person is a field employee, but is currently working all their hours on a particular job, you can enter that default here. During timesheet entry, all their hours will be charged to this job and cost code by default. You can also select a default shift. This employee may always work the swing shift. Next is wage information. If this person is an hourly employee, we can enter their regular, overtime, and premium time rates. If they are a salaried employee, we can enter their annual salary and the number of hours they normally put in during a pay period. If they are a piecework employee, no additional entries are necessary in this screen. The piecework rate and unit of measure will be specified during job budget entry. If the employee is regularly paid commissions, we simply check this box and type in the normal commission percentage rate here. The next tab is for standard deductions and fringe benefits. Standard deductions are dollar amounts that will be deducted from the employee's pay every pay period. In order to insert a standard deduction into this list,
we click on the Add button.
We can then pick from the list of all the standard deductions which have been set up on the payroll setup options. This topic is covered in a separate training session. We can then select one of these deductions and enter in the dollar amount or percentage rate that will be deducted from the employee's pay for this standard deduction. We can also place a dollar amount limit for this employee. For example, if this employee took out a $200 loan, and this deduction is a loan repayment deduction, we can set the rate at, say, $50 per pay period. The system will continue to deduct $50 from the employee each pay period until it has deducted the full $200, at which time it will stop deducting. If a figure is placed in the monthly deduction limit field, the system will make deductions until this limit is reached each month. For example, if the rate per pay period is set at $25 and the monthly deduction limit is set at $100, the system will make deductions only until the monthly deduction has reached $100. In our example, the system will not deduct the $25 if there is a fifth pay period in the month. If a figure is entered into the annual gross limit field, the system will make this deduction only until the employee's gross wage reaches this annual limit. This checkbox instructs the program during payroll posting to ignore the tax-exempt flags, which were specified during standard deduction setup. This is rarely used. If this deduction has been specified as a direct deposit deduction during deduction setup, the box at the bottom of the screen will be enabled. This is where you select which of the employee's bank accounts will be used for directly depositing this deduction amount. On the right-hand side are the deducted amounts for the month-to-date, each quarter, and year-to-date for the current year. These fields show how much has been deducted from this employee's pay for this standard deduction. These dollar amounts may be edited, but they should usually be left alone. The system automatically updates them during each payroll posting.
If we click the Edit button,
we can see not only the amounts for each quarter, but for each month as well. The list box at the bottom of the window shows all fringe benefits that have been calculated for this employee this year. These figures are for display only. For information about setting up fringe benefits in unions, refer to the training session on union setup. The next tab on the employee entry screen is the Federal tab. Here we can see the dollar amounts and the number of hours which have been accrued thus far for each of the 4 quarters and for the year-to-date for any year we choose. We also have buttons on this screen which we can click to edit the amounts displayed or preview this employee's W-2 information for the desired year. The next tab is the State and Local tab. Here we must insert a state record for each state in which this employee will have taxes withheld, or workers' comp, general liability, or state unemployment taxes accrued. In order to add a new state,
simply click on the Add button.
We select from a list of states which have been previously set up, and we indicate which of the state tax tables for that state will be used to calculate withholding taxes on this employee. The system then shows us all of the month-to-date, quarter-to-date, and year-to-date totals. These numbers are automatically updated during postings, but they may be edited here. if desired. The list box at the bottom of the window shows us any localities for which this employee will have taxes withheld. This acts in much the same way as the state.
Click on the Add button
and select from a list of localities. The system will keep track of dollar amounts for this locality. The next tab is the Documents and User-Defined tab. On the left is where we can insert different types of insurance or other documents we're tracking for this employee with their associated expiration dates. These documents may include licenses, green cards, or any other documents we wish to track. On the right-hand side, we have the user-defined fields. These fields allow you to set up categories of certain pieces of information and save a value for each employee in the system. For example, if we click on the Edit Prompts checkbox, we can change the first box to Favorite Color. We click on the Edit Prompts checkbox again, and Favorite Color now becomes a permanent category. We can now keep track of what everyone's favorite color is. The next tab is the Notes and Dependents tab. On the top, we have the standard Notes field, where we can enter any notes regarding this employee. In the list at the bottom, if you desire, you can keep track of dependents this employee has. For example, spouse, children, or any other dependents. The next tab is the History tab. The first box is for employment history. You can enter in the hire date, any raise dates, or any dates an employee received a reprimand or any other information about their employment history. Optionally, you can enter all the information needed to report an injury sustained on the job for reporting to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA. The information entered here will be used to fill out and print official OSHA incident reporting forms and summary forms. At the bottom is a list box containing each pay period for which the employee has been paid. You can view a summary of any pay period by clicking this button. On this tab, you can enter any type of attachment associated with this employee. This can include scanned documents, photographs, or any other computer files you need. Once we have finished, we click the OK button to save our changes. This concludes this session on entering and changing employee information.